So yeah, that was really cool.
At the Andrews house, we primed and painted the entire thing, and then we vacuumed all the walls and the ceilings and floors. And then at the McMurray house, we just put in some screens and cleaned up a little bit because they were about to have their dedication this week for their house.
Yeah, and I'll just add briefly, so as you were coming in, maybe you saw the newspaper articles. So this is the old house and this is the new one. And Governor Youngkin was at this house yesterday with the Mennonite Disaster Service and the Amish, and they were able to dedicate and turn over the keys to the homeowners, to Carl and Linda, who I don't think we mentioned, but they're in their 80s when all of this happened to them. So that's kind of a big deal, and again, we're really excited that we were able to give them a new house after their home was destroyed and they didn't have homeowners insurance. So this is a picture of, this is Carl and Linda. This is the Andrews house, which you guys painted the whole inside of this house, which is amazing.
Yeah, so this is a picture of two houses right next to each other. A large group of us worked at this site for the whole week, and I'll let them describe it to you. Simon.
So the people that are living in the Sigmund and Wolf houses, before they lived in a trailer park right next to the river. And on the day it flooded, it rained really hard. It had been raining really hard, so they both decided to stay in their homes and cancel all of their plans. However, the water started rising, and rescuers came and came and knocked on both their doors, and one of them was busy sleeping, so she didn't hear knocking on the doors. Luckily, the other one knew that she was home and was able to get her attention and get her to the door. They ended up only grabbing like the bare essentials, not really realizing that the whole stuff is going to wipe away their houses. But a couple days later when they came back, the entire trailer park was gone, along with all their belongings, their cars, their houses. Luckily, they were able to contact MBS through their church, and we've been working on building them new houses. Joey's going to talk about it.
So the first thing we did when we got there was put up the installation. We split into two groups. Half of us went and put up the installation in under the house, and Jude and I got the house ready to put it up on the walls. So about the second half of the day, we got the installation up. And I think on the second day, people, I went with this group, they blew insulation into the attic.
So on the second, third, and fourth day, we roofed one house, like the picture there. So that was fun. A lot of repetition. Yeah. So the weather was not like perfectly ideal for roofing because 50-mile-an-hour gusts is not great when you're 35 feet in the air. But we had fun and we got the roof done on the fourth day.
One of the jobs that Mason and I did was we prepared vertical balusters to be attached to the front porch of both houses. We cut them all to be identical and drilled pilot holes to both ends and lined them up on the railings and screwed them in. And we did this to both porches for each house, so you can see there's a picture of us putting them up on one of the porches there.
Another job that me and Jude had was we did a little bit of framing. We had to cut different boards to go above the deck so that the roof could be put it. There's a picture in the top left there.
So me, Eli, and Lucas Shake worked at the French house, and what happened there was there was flooding, and she said it hadn't gotten that high in 45 years, so they weren't expecting it at all. And what happened? She was saying that her house would have been fine if it was just the water that was the problem, but it was carrying trailers from like up the road, and it crashed into their house, and it broke the foundation, and then the house floated away and hit the bridge like further down the river. The river is right by their house. They live by it. And,
So she was also telling us that when her house floated away, her and her husband were there at home with their grandchildren. So they grabbed their grandchildren and ran up the hill away from the water. But the first day we started with flooring, so you can see in those two pictures there. We didn't put the floor down yet, but we had Rachel that first day as well, so she was teaching us three about how to floor and whatnot. So we laid each of the boards out. If you go to the next slide there, you can see how we did it. So those green boxes had the individual flooring boards. We put them together, and then the end pieces we just glued down.
on the last day, Mr. King, Eli, and I did the blue insulation in the roof. We would just like put squares of insulation, like compacted insulation, into this grinder, and then it would blow it through this hose, and one of us would have to be in the roof, and we would just spray it. Yeah, very tedious experience.
Now, something pretty interesting about the French house, if you were in the MBS class earlier this year, Mr. Bixler, the walls that we built in that class actually went to the French house. So all the framing we did, so.
How many of you are, raise your hand if you were in that MBS class this year? So you built this house.
All right, and we're coming up here close to our time, so we're just going to end by each person just sharing what was a takeaway from this experience, or how did your perception change on this trip?
Well, coming into it, I didn't really expect, or I didn't know what to expect with like the Amish like culture and like how that would affect the strip or like what we would do. But it was very insightful because they're a lot like us, and like it's just they seem so like foreign and like different that we kind of put them in this box, but they like to have fun too and do things that we like to do. Like I played ping pong with them. It was fun. I won one of the games. He won the other two. But.
Yeah, so I agree with Mo. I really didn't know what to expect with Amish because I've never been with them before. I also really didn't know what to expect on the job sites because they told us we're rebuilding, repairing houses, but we didn't really know what we were walking into. So I think I learned a lot about just how to lay floor, how to do roof and stuff like that. And then the Amish food too, that was some really, really good food.
I think one of my takeaways that I'll remember was the Wednesday night sharing night. And there was a moment where the homeowners were telling their story of how they were displaced from their homes by the flood. And I looked around and everybody was crying. The homeowners were crying. The people listening to the stories, these were really moving, the stories were crying, we were crying. And it helped put a why behind why we were there. And how much our experience meant to people there. It was really impactful.
I personally was amazed with the Amish work ethic that they had. It was working nonstop from basically 5:30 all the way to like dinner. And if you were slacking off, you'd feel very bad. About it. That's pretty cool.
One thing that I really enjoyed was getting to know all of you guys better, and I feel like this trip has
my takeaways is from one of the days, we got the van stuck in mud, and we tried getting it out in many different ways, but in the end, we had to take the trailer off, and we had to walk it backwards. It was a pretty heavy trailer. It took 6 of us, but we got the van out after half an hour of trying. So yeah, sometimes you just gotta unload the trailer.
Something I took away was that after disasters like this, communities that we might not expect to be really close kind of came together, and everyone we met was super, super kind. And although it might not feel like a community is super connected, even something as terrible as like a flood can bring us together when everyone's helping each other.
This is my second MDS e-term in a row, and both of these e-terms, it was just really cool to get to know the homeowners and listen to their story, especially this one on Wednesday night when we went and the dinner with them. It was just really cool.
I'd say it's one thing for us to try to describe what it was like to do the work and to meet people, but I just encourage anyone to go on a trip like this. You're there and you're doing the work, and you're learning things, and you're having fun with the people around you, and then you sit down across from the people that you're doing the work for, and with tears in their eyes, they express their gratitude, and it's really humbling, and it's really powerful. So I just encourage anyone to get out and do a service project like this. You kind of take away more, I think, than what you give on trips like this. We all kind of talked about that. So.
What I found really kind of shocking was how the McMurrays, they've done mission work and they've gone and traveled and helped other people, and they never would have expected that they would be the ones later needing the help, just because like they got to go back to their homes after these trips, and just like we, after this trip, we went back to our homes, and just, you never know, really, I'm not in like a scary way, but you never know what's really going to happen, but it seems that the community really gave back to them.
Yeah, it was really powerful hearing a lot of the homeowners' stories, and we got to learn new skills and meet new people and get to experience what it's like to spend time with the Amish. It was just a really cool experience.
Yeah, I would say everyone that we talked to, they were just so grateful that we came, and of course we came to help them, but we're also just a group of high schoolers just doing our best, building houses, but they were so grateful, and yeah, they were so nice.
I knew that I was really excited to spend the week with everyone that's up here on the stage, and I was not surprised, but encouraged to see what strong, hard work they put in. We had to be packing our lunches by 5:30 a.m. every single day, and they did. They got up, they did the things, they worked all day at the job sites. They were respectful, and I was just so encouraged that we're a community that can do hard things.
Right, I think that's all we got.
All right, so now we're going to introduce the Underground Railroad group. Sorry, that transition was not clear, so I understand why you were... Okay. So the next group, this is Ms. Suderman. We're going to turn things over to her and her group that did the Underground Railroad return.
And I think we'll have to speed talk a little bit here, but so give us if we go a couple minutes, we'll do our best to share it quickly. So we traced the southern track of the Underground Railroad. Here's a map of the ground we covered. You can see we did, what, just over, close to 1,600 miles. We went far. Paradoxically, we went north first. We ended up in D.C. We explored the Smithsonian Museum of African-American History and Culture to put ourselves in the broader narrative. Then we ended up in Richmond. Look, there is a really great self-guided walk there called the Slave Trail that has punctuated history throughout Richmond. And then we connected in Raleigh with a pastor there named Melissa Flora-Mixler, and she explained to us how their church continues to struggle toward racial justice in their context. We ended up then down in Savannah, Georgia, where we did a scavenger hunt of the old city, and we saw the opulence of and the wealth of the system created on the back of enslaved people. And then the next morning, we took a tour with a gentleman it was called the Freedom Trail Tour, and you'll see some images from that in a few minutes. And then we ended up down in northern Florida in St. Augustine, where there is a place called Fort Mosaic, and that was the first freed, first sanctioned settlement of freed African American people in this nation. It had been held originally first by the Spanish, and that's why they were able to escape south until 1773 when they seceded, and then everyone there went down to Cuba. So that's the broader context and picture that the journey that we took. And this statue, this monument was in Fort Mosaic. It was a really good kind of ending metaphor for what we ended up exploring, because the top bit, this obelisk, kind of represents, it talked about, there's a little plaque there, how it talked about the history that we see. And that piece underneath, it wouldn't stand if it didn't have that support structure. But there is a lot of history that we don't see. And so those were the dynamics that we were exploring and engaging as we were on our epic road trip. So I'm going to pass the mic down, and what we're going to talk about is what are the things that the connections and realizations that we had, questions that we were left with, and maybe just some fun highlights or high moments along the way. So,
I learned just how connected all of our history is, and how a lot of the slaves we have been able to escape without Native Americans, and how a lot of our history was lost or undocumented. And I just wonder, how much more I could have learned if that happened.
Yeah, really similar to what Annabelle said. One question I was left with is just how much is untold, among the Native people.
A lot of the historical sites and monuments we went to, they were in these towns before people would come to see, but we were often the only people who were happening in places. So I think it just makes me wonder, what we're taking advantage of here, the history or knowledge that we could be getting right around that, so that we just haven't looked.
Yeah, one question that I was left with after this e-turn is how many stories of resistance haven't been shared because nobody wrote them down.
Yeah, like Emily said, we're usually the only people doing the walking tours, or at the museum there's a bunch of other schools, but there weren't really other people there, just on their own for their own personal interest. So it was people know about these things, but they don't really take the extra step to learn more about it.
Yeah, I agree with Cole on this one. He's talking about how most of it's not that documented. Well, it is documented, but it's kind of hid away from the public. And on the slave trail that we walked one day, there was we only saw 2 other people on it. But I'm glad I could learn about it and stuff.
I would just say I personally had a great time. We do have one member of our group missing today, my husband, Andrew, you see in the corner there, accompanied us on this trip. And I think, from our perspective, we had such an amazing time traveling with you guys. You were curious, and like I told you earlier, we would travel confidently with you almost anywhere in the world. So it was all an absolute pleasure, and I know that that's reflected in our student body as well. So, yeah, this is what we did, the journey we took, and our takeaways. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Oh, just one more thing, you'll see that there are a couple of mosaics in the very back. Take a look when you go out. Those are from Arts in the Valley. They did a beautiful job. Okay, now you can go.
She's like, we're ready, let's go.